Hey there, Alex Kirin with my quick video review of the Huawei Mate Xs. This is Huawei's foldable phone. It's its second foldable phone, although the first one to really be available outside of China. I spent the past couple of weeks testing it out. Now, there's a big point that hangs over this particular phone, and it's obviously the price. This is a $4,000 phone, and that's really hard to wrap your head around. So Huawei actually has to do an awful lot to justify that price. Has it succeeded? Well, let's see. What did I like about this? Well, the big thing, of course, about a folding phone is it's a folding phone. The whole thing folds up. So you can fold it and you can unfold it. And Huawei's taken a very different approach with the Mate Xs to, say, Samsung with its Galaxy Fold. So where the Galaxy Fold folds inwards like a book and has a very small front screen, this folds outwards, again, I suppose, like a book, except that you're looking at the back and the front cover instead. And this gives the Mate Xs, I think, some really big advantages. I actually like where Huawei's gone with its ideas around foldables, simply because you're not really compromised at any point. If I just want to use this like a regular phone, then I can. It's a 6.6-inch display. It's quite nice. It's bright, it's colourful, it's powerful, all those good things. And obviously then when I want a bigger display, I can have one. I'm not compromising at any time. The flip side of that, though, of course, is that everything is exposed all of the time, because even when I do have it in that folded up position, the back is exposed, the front is exposed, and it's only a plastic screen, and that's really quite important. What else do I like about this particular phone? Well, look, this actually hits an awful lot of touchstones that current Huawei phones do. So it's got a quad camera array, which sits on the back here, and it's quite good. Now, I've got to say quite good, and that sounds like faint praise, but the reality here is Huawei has absolutely been kicking butt in terms of its cameras on phones, certainly since, say, the P30. The P30, I think, remains one of Huawei's absolute top-tier phones. And the issue here really is that for a $4,000 phone, you might think, well, this is going to have the best cameras you can get because, hey, it's $4,000, and it doesn't. They're merely as good as what you can get on a Mate 30 or a P40 Pro. And I think that's a bit of a problem. They should arguably be a bit better. Doesn't mean you can't get great photos with them. Doesn't mean it doesn't have immense flexibility, especially, of course, for selfies, because with selfies, you don't have any front-facing camera up the top here. That just doesn't exist. Instead, of course, what you do is you fire up the camera and you flick it round, at which point the back screen comes on, like so. And so you can then take your shots, but also, of course, you can use any of the lenses that are sitting right there to actually take your shot. There simply isn't another quad cam selfie camera on the market. So it's quite a unique selling point, albeit that I don't know too many people actually want to zoom up their own nose. It's also really, really powerful. So it's running on the Kirin 990, and in Android terms right now, it's basically the most powerful chipset you can get, 5G ready, certainly does well in a benchmark sense, and seems to run fairly well. There's a big caveat there, though. And that caveat's the same one that I observed for the P40 Pro. It's true also for the Mate 30 series, which is that current ban on full Google. So this is an Android 10 phone, but it doesn't have access to Google services. That's because of the US block, of course, and that creates huge problems. You should go and watch my P40 Pro review, where I go into a lot of depth on where those problems are and what Huawei's solutions are. But basically, you've got the Huawei app gallery, which has a lot of junk in it, doesn't have all the apps you'd want, or you can phone clone to the phone, but then you've got to have the other phone handy, and a lot of stuff will transfer, but not in fact work. So a bunch of the apps that I've actually got sitting here do not in fact work on this phone, they just happen to have transferred over. Huawei suggests you could load APKs, just don't do that, people. Seriously, don't do it. It's a really big security risk. And what that means is that this is a lesser phone. It just can't run those apps. Now, over time, if Huawei can really get some momentum on App Gallery, then maybe that will change a little. But right now, and especially for a phone, which is $1,000 clear of the Galaxy Fold, and that was already a super expensive phone, it's a really hard ask, I think, to say, hey, buy this phone, which can do less than a $100 Android phone. That's a big problem. The other big problem is the question around durability. Like the Galaxy Fold, is actually using a plastic substrate screen. Now, I will give them this. While the camera does sort of pick up where that fold line lives, when you're actually using it, when you're browsing through a website, when you're playing a game or trying to get other stuff done, it's not so noticeable. It really isn't. You've really got to kind of strain to work out where it is. You do feel it when you run your finger across it, of course, because that hinge is still there. But it's otherwise actually a pretty well-engineered solution, but it's still plastic. And that means it's not Gorilla Glass, it's not going to be super durable, there's no water resistance, and you've got to wonder, especially with it folded up and sitting in your back pocket, whether or not that screen is going to get super scratched. It certainly picks up fingerprints like crazy, but that's a very minor problem that most phones have. Battery life is actually very good. You can expect an easy day's worth of battery life out of this phone, without a shadow of a doubt, and it does fast charging through USB-C on the base here. There's no wireless charging though. Again, the design sort of means that that's just never going to be a thing. So who's it for? Well, this is where it gets really awkward because I'm struggling to find someone that this phone is actually for, apart from those, I suppose, who want to show off how much money they've got or how much money they had that they gave to Huawei anyway, because ultimately, I love what they've done with the engineering. It's powerful and the cameras are good, but you can get that power and you can get those cameras on like a P40 Pro or a Mate 30. Frankly, I would suggest you buy a P30, last year's phone, because that's a full Google device, and that's the other thing that drags the value proposition down. This just doesn't do what other Android phones can do. Anyway, those are my thoughts on the Huawei Mate Xs. What's your take? Are you keen on one? Have you bought one? Would you never ever buy a $4,000 phone? Let me know in the comments below. And as always, thanks for watching and don't forget to hit like and subscribe.